Diane, wonderful to have you with us today. Appreciate your time.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So Diane is a member of our Trusted Advisors group. She has a company, Diane Integrates, LLC, and has been instrumental with a number of our CEO members. So it's a great opportunity, Diane, to learn about you, to learn about your business and the work that you're doing. And I'd like to talk a bit about the Trusted Advisors group as well. Does that
Yeah,
sound okay?
that sounds awesome, Rick. Thank you.
Good. Well, tell us about yourself. How is it you came to starting your business and the very different services you offer?
Yeah, well, it's so I spent my career sort of in that second in command role, either to a division director or a couple different business owners, and really learned a lot, especially when I got introduced to EOS. That really helped me understand the visionary CEO, second in command dynamic even more, and really formalize some things that I had been seeing and had felt and had learned along the way. So it was just really a great piece that sort of helped me head in that direction. And the fractional movement was gaining speed, and I was took the EOS Integrator Masterclass. So I was trained as an integrator. I had been operating in that role for several years, I guess 4 years by that point. And I thought, I want to go and be able to help more than just the business owner that I'm helping. And as I was starting that journey, what I really realized too is that I wanted to help people like me who were trying to help business owners and weren't really sure why they weren't connecting and why it wasn't happening, why they were running into walls, why they were driving each other crazy. Because I spent most of my career doing it without any tools and without that knowledge. And so I really want to bring that to those teams, because when they are in sync and working together, that's when the magic happens. And without a second in command, the business owner's overwhelmed. They're stuck doing work that they don't like. And I get that there's trust issues and it's hard to find that person that you're really comfortable handing off to, but it makes their life so much better. In a lot of small businesses, it's not time for a COO yet. Really, you need a strong ops leader inside your business, and you probably have that person and are already leaning on them somewhat. And once you guys understand how to work together and where your strengths overlap and connect, and then you're really able to build on that relationship. So my ops success blueprint, I work with the business owner and primarily with their second in command.
It's a real fit with what we oftentimes hear in Vistage. Our CEO members will say, how do I spend less time in the business so I can spend more time on the business? And when you're a small company, if you're, 1 or 2 million or less, sometimes that's hard to do, because oftentimes you're both the person doing all of the in the business work, as well as trying to break out and start looking at the bigger picture and where do I want to take the company and how do I get my capital and what employees do I need to bring on. And so I think your work is just so critical early on, but then as companies do grow and our CEOs are able to be spending more time on the business, then getting clarity with the number two and really that whole C-suite team becomes so key. And I've seen some of the work you're doing that's really, really great. You mentioned EOS, and I know we have an EOS implementer in our Trusted Advisors group.
Mhm.
I've spoken to a number of people who have a little different business model than you. They are kind of fractional integrators. Usually that's the COO kind of a role. And so they might have 2 or 3 clients, and they're spending 4 or 5 or 6 days a month with each of those clients, really kind of serving in that capacity, oftentimes training the number.
Mhm.
But yours is less intense than either of those things. Can you explain why it is you chose to go more of the coaching route and less of the either the implementer or fractional COO role?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Rick. And what I realized as I was, working starting my business and figuring out my options and stuff, I'm not a disruptor in a come in and blow up, bring in a whole new system, blow it up and install something new. That's not who I am at my core. Let's take what you have and make it better. So I'm all about incremental change that can be gently woven into what you've already got. It's less stressful. It's less risky. It's more likely to stick. And you're still going to see results. I mean, even those little changes at the beginning, it's like compound interest. It really just starts to add up. And especially for those business owners who've grown their business organically, where they're still doing a lot, and you have people in your business who are filling multiple roles and probably aren't even totally clear on what those roles are, because as you grow, it's like, oh, we need somebody to start doing this. You've got a few hours, you take it. And then another, you're growing and something else shows up and it's like, oh, hey, start doing that. And so you've got all your people who are filling multiple roles and probably aren't totally clear on which ones are more important. Like sometimes things that feel urgent and important really aren't. And those things that really are important are getting backburnered because, you've got people making these decisions without the whole picture. And even the business owner themselves, they're pulled in a lot of different directions. And so getting that clarity and really figuring out your structure, what roles does it take to run your business? Who do you have doing what needs to come off your plate as the business owner so you can focus on what only you can do and what's going to move the business forward. Getting those things figured out before you start with a fractional COO or a full-time COO or an EOS implementation or any of the other business operating systems that are out there, all of that's going to go so much smoother if you already have a good feel for your structure and you know where there's bandwidth, you know where there's gaps, you know what it takes today.
There's a lot of pieces to this.
Yeah.
To figuring out this integration capacity or operating systems and operating roles, all vis-a-vis the CEO. So if I were to introduce you to someone, one of our members, one of our business owners, what would be your elevator pitch? How would you summarize what it is you do in a couple sentences?
Yeah. I help business owners and their second in command untangle jumbled operations so they can move their business forward in a way that's simple, clear, and focused. And we do that through incremental changes so that it's less stressful, less scary, and more likely to stick.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. So do you have, I know you've worked with a number of our folks and you've been doing this now for a while. Do you have an example that you could share with people and what maybe some of the 2 or 3 core elements of your work that you've been doing with a client?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a couple stories. So my very first client as a coach advisor was a solopreneur, and it was such a wonderful opportunity. We knew each other through networking, and she was talking to me about, you reached out, she's like, I think I need a fractional COO. And we started looking at what she had going on, and what she really needed was a project manager. So big cost savings for her there, just right off the bat. But we dug in and really helped her think through her role, what she wanted her life to look like in the future, what she really loved doing, what she didn't want to do anymore. But really, she at that time was filling all the seats. She had a 10-hour a month admin. So she really was doing everything. And we broke that out, figured out the different roles she was filling, and figured out the priorities. She got a project manager. She got some content people to help her with the programmatic work in certain areas, handed off what she was comfortable with. Some tasks were handed off in pieces, like a portion was handed off because she still wanted that control. It's her company, her name out there. And she was almost immediately able to take on 2 new clients with 5 figures in monthly recurring revenue. Awesome. And the Ops Success Blueprint, I did that with her on a smaller scale because she was a solopreneur. And then recently I broke out just one chunk of that into the Unload Your Workload, like a little smaller experience that has some pre-work, a session, and a little bit of follow-up. And that helps business owners get 5 to 10 hours, which could easily be $25,000 to $50,000. If you think about owner compensation and what that actually means, easily help them get that back, so that they can move their business forward, be focused on what matters, understand what it makes sense to hand off. And doing that kind of as just a little standalone thing is really has been really helpful. I did it with a pair of co-business owners, co-CEOs, and it was really cool. Afterwards, the ones that it really helped them understand how the other one thought and processed information. But the coolest thing we found out was there were two tasks that they were splitting 50-50 because they both need to be involved with it. And so they had split the workload for those 50-50. One hated the one task, the other one hated the other task, and they didn't know it. Until they were in that conversation with me together, they had no idea that they each hated the opposite one. And so simply by shifting that to 2/3 and 1/3 split for each of those tasks, they're happier. They've got time back every week because they're not procrastinating and delaying. They only have to do a small portion of the task that they hate. And that was like a huge instant win. I mean, just right off the bat. And I'm getting ready to do a role clarity program with GovCon that has a 4-person leadership team. And we're going to go in. They've got their roles defined, but they're realizing that they're bumping up against each other. There's some overlap, and there's not a lot of clarity on how they really work together. And so I'm going to do that unload your workload model with each of them individually to really dig deep into their roles, and then meet with the CEO. We're going to go over that, get his insights based on what the leadership team has shared with me. And then we're all going to meet together and go through that together and have them help define how they're going to work together. So everybody will be able to see, kind of the compiled evidence or information that I've gotten from talking to each of them individually, where the gaps are, overlaps, where they're bumping up against each other. And we'll get that figured out so that they're just going to be, moving and grooving and can really help that business take off. So that's pretty exciting.
The exercise that you go through to identify work that can be delegated, what do you call that again?
Unload your workload.
Unload your workload. So a number of the folks that are our members are wrestling with, oftentimes you'll hear it in terms of, I don't have enough bandwidth. I need an admin. My calendar's too full. Time management, what do you have for time management? And I think there's lots of symptoms of that. What is it that's on my plate that really should not be on my plate? And then who can that be? Either not do the work, ideally, or who can we delegate the work to and get it done more efficiently, more effectively. So
and that's a great point. And a lot of times people don't even realize, and same here. Like when I start to write down how I'm really spending my time, it's like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm never getting to these things. And why the heck am I the one doing these? It really, just the exercise itself is really eye-opening. And then we dig into a lot of things about in terms of does it give them energy or drain them? Level of proficiency, what type of task is it, how badly they want it off their plate. But then when you start categorizing those, and that's something that I do behind the scenes and then review it with them, when they start categorizing them and seeing, it's easier to chunk those tasks. And I do it in Excel, so everything's sortable. We can sort by the different variables. It's easier to chunk those tasks and see what needs to come off, or what's easiest to get rid of. And then you also can see some things where they're saying, I'm never going to delegate this, but we look at it and it's like, well, it's not really that important to the success of the company, and you hate it. Why, then we can kind of dig into the why and figure out, well, okay, if you feel because of quality or whatever, you really need to hold on to this. Do you need to hold on to the whole thing, or can we delegate a piece of it? How can we get you some help?
So if I'm speaking to someone, at what point would it make sense for a CEO to evaluate and explore working with you and the services you provide?
Well, you said one of them, I'm too busy too. When you start saying I'm too busy too, that's like, okay, let's look at what's going on and get you some relief, because that's what it's really all about, getting them some relief. So that I'm too busy too, when they are really hating going in because they just don't like the work that they're doing, when they're starting to think about hiring a COO or starting to think about doing a business operating system, they can save themselves a lot of time and money if they spend a little time with me first.
Well, I'd like to shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
And, let's see. You've been with our group now how long? When did you join the Trusted Advisors?
My first meeting was in September, and I joined effective October. So I attended September as a guest, and I got to go on the amazing retreat that you guys had. That was such a special time, and really cool to get to meet your CEOs and key leaders and just hear about all the interesting work that they're doing. That was a really amazing experience.
It just seems like you've been with us much longer than that. So it's really relatively new. So as you think back, what was some of the driving interests or reasons you decided to join this group?
Couple things. As a solopreneur, because I'm a solopreneur, I don't really have a team that I'm working with, and I do a lot of virtual things, but I really like the idea of doing something in person and having a team of peers that I could learn from. I'm a huge fan of peer groups. An element of my Ops Success Blueprint that I also do as a standalone is my second in command peer group, which are small group working sessions, so like up to 4 people. So it's a little different than the Vistage model, but very hands-on and working. But I'm a huge believer in peer groups, and I didn't really have one. And I know Vistage, I attended some networking groups, but it wasn't the right fit. And I knew of Vistage's reputation. So that was a big reason. In person was a big reason. And I really want to get into the Vistage Speakers Bureau, because I think that's a great opportunity for people like me to be able to share what they're doing, help these business owners, and also learn from them doing the workshops, because they're so interactive. So having the opportunity to hear what's happening from other business owners helps keep me in tune with what people are going through, so that I can make sure I'm adjusting my services accordingly and best meeting their needs. So those were probably the main reasons.
Wonderful. Great. Well, and it's been wonderful having you. So you've been a part of things for 4 or 5 months. What value have you realized so far?
Being in a group of trusted advisors and getting their insights on most of them who have been in business much longer than me, and getting their insights on how to run my business strategies, hearing what they're dealing with, hearing how they're interacting with their clients, what they're seeing in their work with clients. So just so much information for me on the content side as well as the business operations side, and just having that safe space to be able to share whatever's going on and challenges. That's huge. That's just huge, is having that safe space. I've had some really terrific introductions from you, which I appreciate. Yeah. And by being as part of the retreat and building some of those relationships, one of your CE group members reached out and said, "Hey, I remember you talking about this. Could we have a conversation?" So that was just, wow, such an amazing compliment that they, remembered that. And when they hit this challenge in their business, reached out to chat with me. So, and we're going to be working together. So that's super, super cool.
That's awesome. Great. Good. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time, explanation of the work you're doing. I know you're doing some great work, and it's teasing out that operational side, that CEO delegation side down to the C-suite, getting those roles clarified. I love your tool for, what work should I not be doing. I think that's a great tool, and it's been fun having you as a part of the team. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I really appreciate you having me here today. And just being able to help those business owners get in sync and work with their second in command. One of the things that I didn't quite touch on yet, but just the ripple effect of that, make the world a better place, because when they're happy and in sync, they go home happy. That impacts their family. It impacts the people in the company. It impacts their families, customers, stakeholders, and the ripples are just endless. So the way I see it, it's the best way I can help make the world a better place.
Awesome. Well, that's a good mission. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Bye.